Hi folks, today I'm going to take you through the use of null value, null value 2 and also keep dense rank in your statements to help simplify data and not you needlessly return information that you're not actually after. So we're going to be using the same customer master table that we imported last time, and a couple of new tricks for you. So if you've got your SQL window, if you want to select the table, but you specifically want the columns because you don't want to have to write them out or query them, you can simply drag into here, and there's a number of different options that you then have. You can simply select the name, or you can do a select statement, and what that will do is it'll bring all the columns for you. This is in a horrendous state at the immediate minute, but I have configured my beautifier in PLSQL, so it gets much closer to the general state that I'd want to use. Now, I'm not interested in virtually all of this, but what I am generally interested in is those 4 pieces of information. So we're going to have a look at that, and then we're going to alias this as cust. So what we're going to do is very quickly do this. There will be another video on how to utilize Excel in writing code that makes some of this stuff much easier, but it's not worth it for the 4 rows that we have. So we've got our customer data. Here you go. And what we want to know is we've got these customers that we have sold to. So we've got some sales information, and I'm really interested in the type of interactions that we have with those customers. So I have some call information, and that's got some lookup data such as what agent took the call, what demand the call was about, and we're going to have a look at kind of all that information to see if I can glean any insights from it. So at the minute I'm going to join all of the data together. Customers at the minute, in theory, we may not be talking about all of our customers, but we are going to be talking about all of our sales. So I'm going to join that on sales, and then in my where statement I'm going to do my it's going to be customer ID equals sales customer ID, and for the minute I'm just going to do sales dot, so we can have a look. So this is the information that we have at the minute. Just for ease for this demonstration, there is only 1 sale per customer, so we can have a look, and we've got those details that were kept before, and then we've also got sale date, the delivery date of the item. Not all items have been delivered, the item number that they ordered, the quantity, the method ID, which we won't be using in this, and the sale ID, which is just a unique identifier in that table. So that's the information that we have. Now I'm really interested, like I say, in the type of contacts that we have with these customers. So I want every sale that we have. So I'm going to left join our calls information on here, and because they're now short table names, I don't need to alias any of these, which is nice. But we're going to join this all to sales. So that's going to be sales dot customer ID equals calls dot. Did I not call it calls? What did I call it? Calls taken. So maybe we will use an alias. So we'll call that calls. So we can do that, and I'm only interested in calls that took place between the sale date and the delivery date, because anything after that I can assume is to do with the product itself, and not to do with the sales process or anything like that. So I'm also going to look where the call date, which is in this field, is between, just randomly adding e's in there, it's between the sale date sales and sales dot delivery date. If you've spotted a problem already, bear with me, I'll get to it. So I'm now going to add in calls here as well, so we can have a look. So this is successfully joined customer data with our sale data onto call dates. But you will notice in here that we have only returned customers that have a delivery date. Now all these customers haven't had calls apparently, which is fine. So yeah, we've got a problem because we're not returning all of the calls. So this is where NVL or null value comes in. If you think you're going to come across null values and you need a way to deal with them, I've seen lots of different ways of doing it. So I've literally seen people do embedded case statements, such as this, and give it a date, etc. We don't need to do any of that. You can use a switching function called NVL. So all we do, open bracket, and then we want to say what value should it use if it is null. Now you may have a particular reporting date that you're working to, which is probably the preferred. I'm going to use the very messy sysdate in here. Now what that's going to do is that's going to return, but it's going to now return our customers with delivery dates, which is, we've got much better returns now, and you will probably see in here that some customers have called us more than once. So at the minute this data's, it's visually we can see what we want, but we couldn't really do any proper analytics out of this. So just very quickly, what I'm also going to do is hook in a couple of other pieces of information regarding the call. So you can see in the call data here that we have agents and we have demand IDs. You can see my table list here that I have an agent table and a demand table. So I'm going to bring in agent here on, and that is going to be sales. No, it's not going to be sales. It's going to be calls. Agent equals agent dot agent. Not very imaginative names, so I do apologise. And I am also interested in the demand. So we're going to bring demand in there. I've picked lots of table names that are apparently keywords, which is very naughty. So that's going to be calls, and that's going to be demand, and then that's going to be demand ID. So we could, in theory, here just put everything agent. So that's everything on there, all joined up together. So we can see a whole list of these are the customers, this is what they've gone through, and all the information, so who they spoke to, and what the demand was. Now at the minute I can't really do a lot with this in say Excel or pivots or anything to say percentage of customers that called us, or what was their last demand, what was their first demand, this type of stuff. So first of all I'm going to strip out kind of the data to its bare bones again. So really I'm only interested in, I could be interested in the sales information, really probably only sale date and delivery date. So let's pull sale date and delivery date back. And then from calls I will be interested in some piece of information, but really when they called us isn't important. I know they called us in the analysis period that I'm interested in. I just want to know whether they called us or not, and then if they called us I'm interested in what department they spoke to and what was their demand description. So actually from the calls table itself I don't need anything, but I need a way of being able to flag whether the customer had calls. Now again, I've seen people export this pretty much as it is, and then do some if statements or something in the Excel to say whether the customer called us or not, or they brought in date and then grouped them up. I've also seen people again do case statements. So doesn't really matter what field we use. You know, you could do case when customer ID is null, then, you know, and it goes on and on. You also have multiple calls here. So in terms of returning a single customer row, we couldn't do that at the immediate minute. This is where, again, I'd see people reaching for ranking functions to give them a row number that they could then select one from, which would involve an entirely separate query. At the minute, I just want a flag to say whether the customer's called us or not. So I'm going to use NVL2. Now, like NVL, we can return it if we can return a different value if it's null. But NVL2 allows us to return two switches. So that if it has a value for calls.customerID, which is, remember, in this table, it will produce a Y, and if it doesn't, it will produce an N, and that will give us a flag to say that the customer's called. Okay, dead interesting. In here, I want agent.department, and I just want the demand description. So again, at the minute, this would be an interesting set of data, except I'm going to have these same customers in here more than once. Some of these customers called us 3 times, 4 times. So I'm kind of interested that they're called, and I'm interested in essentially who resolved the query, so who they spoke to last. So again, if we had a call date in here, I can see people doing the ranking functions and stuff. We've no real need to do any of that. What I am interested in, let's pull call date in here anyway. So we've kind of got the call date, we've got the custom called flag, so we know that that's kind of valid. And yet normally I could see people ranking by the call date, which isn't particularly needed. If we wanted to, from here, we could get the max call date. Which, again, interesting piece of information. We then need to start thinking about our group bys, but we'll do that at the end. But we can't max department, and we can't max demand description, because alphabetically that may return as a different result. So without using a ranking function, which would require a second step, we can do something else, and this is where keep dense rank comes in. So we can do that, and then what we can do is literally use keep dense rank first order by, and it's the call date that I am interested in. Now in theory, you know, you could again have null stuff in here. So generally speaking, unless you know you want something else, you can put nulls last in at this stage. Depending on the type of query, you may also need to put a partition part in here. So I'm just going to do that by customer ID as last department. I copy this line, swap this out for demand description. There we go. So that's max, call date, department, and demand description. But if the customer were to have 2 rows of data in this for some reason, then in theory this could cause us a problem, because it would have an N and a Y, because it's just seeing whether the customer ID in the calls table is blank or not. Now alphabetically, because of Y and N, you can again use the max function here, and that will, if the customer's had a call, just return you a Y. So I'm interested in these distinct pieces of information, so I'm going to add that as a group by. And because my commas are before my values, I don't need to worry about is there a comma at the end or the beginning. which is why I use this methodology. So let's have a look at one particular customer that we know we have multiple rows for. So in here, so Marianne, we've spoken to on 3 different occasions. Spoke to dispatch, sales and dispatch, and her last call was this year, 21st of January. So we're expecting dispatch and goods wrong item as those pieces of information. We're expecting a Y because we've spoken to her. Expecting the 21st of January because that's the last call. Dispatch and goods wrong item. So I'm going to run the query as a whole, but I'm also going to copy her customer ID. So that's, oh, see, can't all get it right. Okay, customer ID. So this can be any of them. Okay, so I actually didn't want the partition part in this statement. Thought it looked odd. So ignore that part. So if you keep dense rank, it's literally keep dense rank first order by your call date. And like I say, null's last will generally be the option that you're interested in. And that gives you this set of data. So yeah, that will give you your result of your basic customer information, whether they had a call or not. And if they did, the last piece of information regarding that call. And this is then dead easy to do something with, in terms of in kind of a pivot table. You can very quickly call, customer called, yes or no. Dead simple kind of numbers. That's that question. You can say, are the customers that called us? Put that in there. We can see who. This is not actually. This is that's department. So we can see of the calls that we received, because actually we only are interested in customers that did call us. So we can, we can see what spread, and then we can have a look and throw in, and these are the demand reasons. So we can say, really quite quickly and really quite easily. So we can say our hotspots are calls going into support about payments being lost, and that's an issue. That's our highest. That was not the highest because it's just the last reason, but we can say that's where customers end. So that could be described as good because customers stop calling us after we've resolved an issue about a payment. But yeah, the point is it's dead easy without using lots of case whens and rank statements and then recalling data based on row numbers and stuff to kind of have a look at certain pieces of information. This would be dead easy to say, I want the first one by changing these to minimums and stuff. So yeah, I hope you find this useful. Like, subscribe, share, and don't forget to leave a comment below with what else you'd like to see. Take care. Bye bye.